Once you begin to answer the big questions in life, many of the smaller ones answer themselves. And so, if God is who he says he is, if Jesus Christ is who he says he is, then the answer to the question of who Jesus Christ really, really is going to answer an awful lot of the other questions in your life. My name is Tim Stewart. I am a campus minister with Campus Ambassadors, and I serve at the University of Buffalo. I had grown up in a family where we had attended church, and I had gone to Sunday school and youth group and all of those things for years. And so I heard all of everything I needed to know about the gospel many, many times. But it wasn't until I was on my first bike trip with the church youth group that I participated in. And we just happened to be sitting around a campfire one night, and the speaker was sharing the gospel. And for some reason that night, it clicked in my mind that I did not have a relationship with Jesus Christ the way he was describing it. And because of the biblical knowledge that I already had, I knew what that meant. And I was like, this is a problem. I need to deal with this now. And so I just grabbed him afterwards, and we went and sat and talked, and he addressed it all over again for me, and that night I received Christ. I remember that night specifically, like I couldn't sleep. I was just so excited because it all finally came together. It made everything else just kind of fall away, and it was an enormous relief, but in a very joyous sense. I just remember laying there in my tent, in my sleeping bag, just being so thrilled to know that, yes, I have just made the best and most important decision of my life. When the seniors in our high school youth group all graduated, it seemed like everybody in that youth group went as far away from home as they possibly could, except for me. I knew that I was going to go to the local college, Oneonta State. So that summer, before classes started, my freshman year, I just gave Chris a call and said, hey, I'm going to be starting at Oneonta State this fall. Could we get together? We had a great meeting, and what it meant is that from day one at Oneonta State, I had fellowship. Paul was very impressed by the model for campus ministry that Chris Deemer was presenting. And it made a real impression on him, such that years later, when he was a senior pastor in Buffalo, New York, he thought, man, we need a campus ambassador here in Buffalo. I went out. It was just my wife and our 1-month-old son at the time. And I met Paul, and I checked out the church, and I just saw a number of things that I kind of liked. The home church that we had in Oneonta was just a fabulous place to bring college students into. And I just saw a number of things that I thought, I think we could recreate something similar here. And we went out there, didn't hardly know anybody, but we just launched it. The University of Buffalo is kind of the flagship school of the SUNY system. Our school is a major engineering school, and biomedical. We get a lot of pre-med types, and pre-dental, pre-pharmacy, those kinds of people. And they are very aware of just how difficult their work fields are. It's a different mentality with the students there. There is an academic caliber of students that's quite high. These are very sharp, very intelligent people who will come at you with very serious, well thought out questions. And you need to be able to meet them in that place. I remember my mini little existential crisis of, what does it look like for Tim to, direct a ministry? And over a few years, God gave me some clarity and peace about that. I've just kind of learned along the ways that as we press into the Lord and follow Him, that, man, there's going to be a bunch of times where it feels like we do not have what we need to do what we need to do, and that God in His ways will provide, and that we really do have everything we need in order to do exactly what He's called us to. We have a student right now named Bruno. I look at him and I see a guy who could do what we could do. I know Bruno looks at himself and says, I could never do this. I know he looks at himself and says, I don't have the skills for, he's like, I could play a little guitar, that's about it, you know. And it's like, dude, I don't even care about the guitar part. It's your awareness of what you don't possess and how big your God is that makes me believe very firmly that you could absolutely learn what it takes in order to do what we do very well. When you start out in ministry, it's like you're in a little boat, and that boat kind of rises and falls with each and every wave, and everything feels very extreme and stuff. But then over time, it's like you get a bigger boat, a little bigger boat, a little bigger boat. And really big boats aren't really affected that much by each passing wave. And so this is one of the reasons I think it's so important for us to have ministers to put in careers, okay? Because when the college students look at us, they need to see someone who knows deep in their bones that it's going to be okay. It's like, yep, we've been here before. God's brought us through all kinds of craziness. We've been through the highs and the lows and everything, and it's going to be okay. And so I feel like this is one of those jobs that if you do it well, you never age out. You only bring more life experience and more time of walking with God to bear on the lives of these young men and women that are at one of the most important phases of their lives, where they're young adults now, but they're young, but they're adults. And I believe that most people form the habits and patterns during these critical kind of college age years that are going to put them on trajectory for the rest of their lives. And so if we can meet them in that time and place and help them structure their lives in such a way that God is their foundation, and that they learn what it looks like to do life daily with Christ, that they have so much to look forward to. God is going to do amazing things in their lives, because God has better plans for them than they have for themselves. This is life on life ministry, okay? And so there's a reason we can't just do this as a Bible study on a Friday night, okay? The reason we've seen the lives of young men and women utterly transformed is because they've seen us in the morning on campus. They've seen us in the evenings. They've gone on retreats with us. They've gone on missions trips. We've done so much of life together, so much in the same way that Jesus had his disciples, okay, and was doing life on life ministry with them. That's precisely what we're trying to do with the college students at the university, because we're not trying to just get people to pray some prayer. We're trying to empower people to become followers of the way of Jesus Christ. And that takes including them in enormous parts of our lives. And so, we need to be wise and careful and make time for our families and that sort of thing. And I think we've, as a team, have been quite good and disciplined about that. But beyond that, I love that the college students get to see the way I interact with my wife. I love that they get to see the way I interact with my boys. And I love that my boys have grown up in this environment. They are good young men. And in large part because they see this Christianity thing isn't just something that mommy and daddy do sort of thing, but they've seen it fleshed out in the lives of many, many people that they utterly respect, and that they know that they can go to as well and ask whatever questions they have. And they both love campus ministry, having grown up in it, and the students for them are many of their best friends. And so I'm of the conviction that dairy farms and campus ministry are the two best places to raise a family. And I'm blessed to have had both in my life. We've been there now 17 years, and we now have alumni that are out there doing amazing things. Doctors and engineers and all kinds of people who they are so sharp. Many of them have found their spouses through our ministry. One of my new favorite things in ministry is now just holding the babies of alumni who met through our ministry. absolutely love it. We usually only get them for a handful of years, but I've had multiple times over the years where former students come back years later and then tell me about the things that happened in the subsequent years and how important our interaction was during that season that led them to the place where they're at now, and the amazing transformation that God has made in their lives since. There's three main things that we need, okay? Sure, one, we need support. We need people that are going to financially support, the aspects of our ministry that we do, so that we don't have to get a job somewhere else. We can give full-time hours to bear on the gospel ministry among college students. The second thing we need are volunteers. If it's just about the staff that we have on campus, we will be the bottleneck, and we will limit the number of people who come to know Christ because we have not empowered really fantastic volunteers to go out there and make the relational connections that new students need in order to really connect with the community. The third thing we need are people who are willing to extend their credibility to others and say, hey, what Tim's doing here is really great, and I think you'd be blessed to hear about the ministry, and you might want to participate in some way in that ministry. And so those are the three main things that we need in order to do all that we do on the campus.